So do you remember when I shared with you that that phrase, or just the one word that Ken had said to me when I was in the Namaste stage one time, Isi-Oop? Do you remember?
Oh,
Do you remember that?
I do.
And you know, it was one of those things that was just so strange. You know, I'm half asleep, half awake, and all of a sudden my husband, who is laying in the bed, you know, but all of a sudden he pops through the door ethereally and looks at me and says, Isi-Oop. And it was so commanding. I'll never forget that. And it was like I instantly, yes, sir. Kind of like, whoa, okay. Isi-Oop, I'm here. I'm here. It was almost like it was a code word. Well, today I decided to look at it and go a little bit deeper to see what Isi-Oop really was about, because I felt it here, but I didn't really know at the time. And I thought, well, it's kind of silly that I've never really looked at this. I'm like, why haven't I really looked at this letter or this word? Because part of it is Sooth. I mean, that's the last half of it, Semek Vav Pei, but it has the hard pay and not the Fe sound, but the Isi-Oop. And that means there's a lot of things, but that it's connected to the end because of the Sophie, right? It's from that. It has to do with crossing over a threshold, where they would have basins of blood. So that old of where we would get Passover from, you know, putting the door on the lintel where they used to put the bowls in the doors, crossing over, this house is being declared to that deity, right? So that's all connected to that. But the part of it was in the end. It means at the end. So Isi, now looking at the letters in their energies from the parent fruits, listen to this. So it would be spelled Yod Semek, Yod Vav Pei, Isi-Oop. When the Yod and the Semek come together, it means a movement of progression. And I love that, because Yod Sheen, because the way that the language moves, the Sheen always, it like progresses to the Semek, from the Sheen to the Semek. So you're not dealing with the fire of God so much anymore. Now you have the signet ring, wedding ring, you're hedged in and supported. So you went from a being of substance that is now showing a movement of progression. It's like, wow, okay, that's good. When you take the Semek to the Yod, so now moving to the next two parent letters, just following in through the parent letters, the next two parent letters means that which is equal, made in accordance to its own nature, milk that flows without being drawn. Milk that flows without being drawn. So I'm looking at that from the Semek to the Yod. So you've got Yod, Semek, Yod. You've got these two visions that are being presented of mother and father that lead to the marriage, that is showing that something is in a movement of progression that is made in accordance and to their own nature. So in other words, the progression of where we go and what we've been doing is because of what we've been made. So that's when I was saying that you can't necessarily disconnect the human element in the journey from the cosmology side.
Right.
You have to take that in consideration. And this word is showing that. It's like your nature, you're maturing into the nature that you already created with. There's a lot of hope there, right? There's a lot of hope. It's like, oh, we're all going to be going that way. You don't have to worry about anybody being left behind or lost. We're all maturing. We're all maturing because it is our nature to do so.
Yeah.
Then when you get to the Yod Vav, so now we're just marching in. So from the Yod Vav, it's this. Every luminous manifestation, everything that is intelligible, and it's directly connected to the moon and the sun. Now, very interesting. Ken and I, on the 20th, we went up to the top of the hill where the cross is, and we brought our shofars up there, and looking at that as being Yom Teruah. And it was so amazing because we had, the moon wasn't quite the full moon, because the full moon was on the 18th, but it was just 2 days. So it was just starting to go in the waning side. And we had the moon on one side and we had the sun rising on the other. And they were completely balanced, opposing one another, like in the same place in the sky. It was so incredible. The sunrise was amazing. And so that's connected to this Yod Vav, every luminous manifestation, everything intelligible. I was like, oh my gosh. And then moving it from the Vav Pei, raised to dignity, decoration, and power. Isi-Oop. So when I look at this phrase, what I felt like Ken was declaring to me in that space was like the beginning of me being able to rise out of where I was at, because that was very much when I was still in my darkness, when I was still going through a lot of my healing.
Yeah.
I hadn't healed from CPTSD yet. I hadn't healed from the multiple personalities, but yet there was this declaration that was being said over me that was like a code word, like now is the time. Because I remember feeling that urgency, like now is the time to rise up, is what I felt that he was saying. Isi-Oop, it's now time. So rise up in the movement of your progression. You have momentum that has already been building, which is making you equal, meaning, because I'd always seen myself, oh, let me back up. So I'd always seen myself as not Ken's equal, right? I just never did. I was like, oh, he's further along in me. And, you know, whether it's natural because he's 9 years older than me, or just because of all of my brokenness, perceived brokenness and trauma. So you're having a movement of progression. You are entering into the place of becoming equal, made in accordance with your very own nature. You are milk that is flowing, that is no longer needing to be drawn. And every luminous manifestation in your life, everything that is intelligible, is manifested in your life, raising you to a place of dignity, decoration, and power. Through the work and the deed of your own hand, you are surrounded, you are protected, you are hedged in and supported. You have the wedding ring and the signet ring of authority. You will be taking this power, having your hand held out, connecting to others through your mouth that speaks these revelations.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Wow. So like I said, first time I've ever looked up what the meaning was of Isi-Oop, and then really taking in consideration, in the end, this will be. So, you know, going from Haya to become, to be, to come to pass, in the end, so you will manifest this. So I know for me, it was a wake-up call, and it was a manifestation and a declaration of not just my journey, but many. And so, you know, like to other people, I say, Isi-Oop, Isi-Oop, it's time.